paralyzed man from Arizona has had a microchip implanted in his brain that allows him to control a computer with his thoughts. Noland Arbor was injured.
That one to me is so crazy that someone is keeping that information from the rest of the humans. Because if we found out the Ark of the Covenant was in fact a real object and we know where it is and it does match the description in the Bible, that kind of changes everything.
If you're amazed by that, wait till you see this, because if you were looking up at the sky last night, you might have suspected you were seeing
spiral which was visible over the night sky in Europe is believed to have been caused by a SpaceX rocket. The cloud-like shape was visible for several minutes, confusing many who posted photographs to social media.
If you're amazed by that, wait till you see this, because if you were looking up at the sky last night, you might have suspected you were seeing your first UFO. Can I just say, this really happened? We haven't manufactured this.
It's not an April Fool.
No.
This is a large blue and white spiral appearing in the night sky above parts of the UK about 8 o'clock last night. Did you see it? It was visible for several minutes before it then just faded away. So we've been trying to find out what it was.
Well, it's believed to have been caused by this.
Eh?
The SpaceX rocket that was in Florida launching Falcon 9, it's reusable, from Elon Musk. It was on a classified United States government mission.
Have you been reading about this on a WhatsApp? It's thought the spiral was formed when the rocket then ejected its leftover fuel and froze in the air due to the altitude. Light was then reflected off the frozen fuel, making it visible like that here on Earth.
And it's got stars and a heart shape around it. Oh no, it did have, it's gone. But yeah,
If you saw it last night, we've got some great pictures, but if you've got any images you'd like to send us as well, there's the number. WhatsApp us some pictures. Tell us where you were and we'll try and build up a sense of where it was brightest and best. But it really is. Never seen anything like it before.
Sure they weren't shooting a Marvel movie in Oxfordshire? Are we
It's a bit like the
sure?
Batman thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a little bit, isn't it?
Also, this is a crazy sight. Look at that right there. A mysterious spiral appearing in the middle of the northern lights in Alaska. Scientists say it happened just before 2 a.m. Saturday, lasted for just a couple of minutes. Scientists say that spiral was likely caused by a rocket engine exhaust from a SpaceX mission that launched Friday night. So the launch passed over Alaska, and they say that spiral was likely created by water vapor in the engine exhaust freezing at high altitudes and then catching the sunlight. It's an amazing sight on top of an amazing sight.
Now to the West Coast, and the sea lions getting more aggressive. Experts blame the environment. Along the California coast, sea lions are getting poisoned by toxic algae, causing them to act in a way some describe as demonic. It comes amid a surge in the number of sea lions ingesting domoic acid, a neurotoxin within algae blooms, through the fish they eat.
We're seeing them like they're stargazing. We're seeing some animals seem very, very sleepy, maybe right after having a seizure. They may be abnormally aggressive.
One man was surfing when he says a feral, almost demonic sea lion bit him and dragged him off his board, adding, "It was unlike anything I've ever seen in all the years I've been in the water." Marine biologists say the toxic algae bloom that usually forms every 4 to 7 years is forming more often due to warming temperatures and runoff pollution.
Now we're seeing an increase. Over the last 4 years, we've seen consecutive years of this harmful algal bloom off of our coast.
The Marine Mammal Care Center in San Pedro has taken in at least 146 sea lions since last month. Dolphins and seabirds also falling ill. This algae bloom, already described as worse than the one in 2023, blamed for more than 1,000 sea lion deaths. What can the public do? Experts say do your part to create a better environment for marine life.
Throwing away their trash, allowing anything toxic to go down the storm drain, because everything ends up back at the ocean.
But paralysed man from Arizona has had a microchip implanted in his brain that allows him to control a computer with his thoughts. Noland Arbor was injured in a diving accident, but now, after years of being totally dependent on others, Noland says his life is transformed.
Welcome back, everyone. We've all seen movies like The Matrix, which show characters that blur the line between man and machine. In our current reality, some are on the same journey, putting technology inside of their bodies with microchips. But how high are the risks, and what are the rewards? And what could this mean for our collective future?
In an instant, Nolan's life changed, and the most basic tasks were not doable.
You just have sort of no control, no privacy, and it's hard. And you just have to learn that you have to rely on other people for everything.
But 8 years on, Noland became the first person to get this brain device from Neuralink, a US neurotechnology firm whose founder is Elon Musk.
I just imagine the sensation or what it might look like to wiggle my fingers, something along those lines, and I could get the cursor to move. Now I could actually control my computer with just my thoughts.
A handful of other companies have also developed and implanted similar chips. So how do these brain chips work?
The device is sitting in the motor region of the brain. It's picking up when someone's thinking about like tapping their fingers. It can create what we call a digital motor output. And that's what's being used with a computer directly to click on it.
Back in Arizona, Noland hopes his brain power means a fulfilling future.
When you guys come together every year, what is the big wish list item that you all hope to one day make?
The thing everyone wants is Neuralink. It's frustrating because it's out there, but we don't know how it's built.
The thing everyone wants is Neuralink. It's frustrating because it's out there, but we don't know how it's built.
So if Elon was willing to open source all of his stuff like we do, that'd be great. It works on the premise that your brain's electrical signals can interface with a computer's electrical signals. That is the dream. That is the Johnny Mnemonic, everyone's favorite movie in biohacking.
Upload begins when you press here.
Or uploading information like in The Matrix.
I know Kung Fu. There's definitely potential.
Real-life transhuman hacker himself, Len No joins us. Len,
thank you for having me.
I've got a quick question to just kick things off. Why?
Well, that's usually the big question. It actually started with the concept of why not? So, to be honest, this was more of a progression. You don't live a pretty normal, vanilla life and then just wake up one morning and say, wow, today's the day I'm going to start shoving microchips in my arms.
Yeah.
So for me, it was more of a progression. I started with tattoos, got into standard body modifications, piercings.
Standard
augmentation.
I've got a tattoo. Does that mean I'm going to get chipped up?
Well, that depends. You know, if you're fortunate enough to get it, you never know.
What can you run us through your setup? Is that right?
What are the specs?
Yeah, what implants do you
I'm
have?
one of the few people that actually comes with my own hardware list. So this would actually be the largest one.
Whoa. Is that looks like a Jazz cracker. Is that right?
Jazz, what is it?
This is an NFC and RFID implant, so this allows me to actually interface to the same technologies on your cell phones that you use to tap to pay with. I can also use it to get into physical restrictions like your badging system in this beautiful building. I could skim one of your cards, write it down to one of my implants, and just walk up and open the door.
What? Wow. Yeah. But when you say that, right, so if you skim the card, then how are you entering that
I need an additional tool, but most of the time I can get away with just...
When you say additional tool, you mean a computer?
No, most of the time I mean my cell phone. I can actually program these on the fly.
Really? Sorry, so what you're saying is you can walk into a secure building, like say this one, and just find your way in.
Yep.
With your cell phone and your
I wouldn't bring the cell phone with me. I wouldn't bring the cell phone with me.
You just do that just by...
I would skim the card, like hypothetically, you know, you have amazing staff here that are just lovely people, you know, but I've watched them sit there and badge in. If I was able to skim one of those cards, I would leave this building, write it down to one of the implants, leave all of my cell phones, all my electronics outside, and I would basically walk into your building.
Okay.
If I was caught, the fact that these are inside my body actually gives me protection under medical privacy laws to the point where the authorities can't even ask me about them.
Oh, we need to change those laws. Okay, but hang on. Okay, right. All right, okay. I get this. I get you saying you're using it for good.
I guess so.
What I don't get is why any human should be allowed to have that capability.
Well, the ability for self-experimentation, it goes all the way back to Isaac Newton. So a lot of the greatest medical benefits that we actually have in the modern age were originally started by people experimenting on themselves.
But I do believe that we are very early in that science. We are still learning about how the brain works in general. So the idea that a brain-computer interface, something that you would implant into the brain, can reveal these benefits, I think it would be really difficult because there's so much that we don't know.
When it comes to Neuralink, though, the grassroots level, the level where the grinders are, there's a lot of concern about putting something inside the brain that will be collecting information directly from your body in such an intimate way, that technology being owned and operated by some kind of external entity is a source of profound concern.
I feel like the first people that can afford implants are going to be the millionaires. And a lot of the reason why the grinders do what they do is so that technology can be for everyone.
Grinding and biohacking is so invested in the DIY model because it puts the technology and the information in the hands of the makers.
Because it puts the technology and the information in the hands of the makers.
On the outside, this home looks picture perfect, with signs that say autism awareness. An anonymous neighbor hearing what is not seen.
They're like always banging on the walls like a fist or whatever. Bam, 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 bam.
But what police say happens behind closed doors is unimaginable.
But if they have them tied up or something in the house.
Officers say a 15-year-old boy with autism ran about a block to this grocery store.
I could hear people gasp, like a sound of shock. And I turned, and when I did, the young gentleman was coming across the front end with no clothes on.
You guys did a great job yesterday.
Thank you so much.
A normal day for managers at Costless Foods went from calm to chaotic in seconds.
This kid is in trouble, and we need to get him help.
Visibly in danger.
His wrists were together, and there was another rope on the same floor.
His appearance concerning.
He had 75 to 100, maybe more bruises. Several bruises all over his body.
Managers covered the teen with a coat and dialed 911.
I just kept telling him, everything's going to be okay. And I would pat him on the back, and everything's going to be okay. We're here. We're going to take care of you.
Ceres police arrived shortly after.
A lady arrived on scene claiming that she was looking for her son. She was identified as Leandra Renteria.
Police went to the home and discovered 2 other adults and a 12-year-old girl with autism. The child was not hurt.
The living conditions were, feces and urine throughout the house, strong odors, things that are very, strong health hazards that nobody should be living in.
Police say both children were taken by Child Protective Services. Many say they will never forget that boy.
I would probably just give him a hug, and I think he would know.
3 adults were arrested on charges of child abuse and neglect. The boy's mother, grandmother, and her husband.
A powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck central Myanmar on March 28, 2025, causing widespread panic and destruction across the region. According to the United States Geological Survey, the earthquake's epicenter was located 16 kilometers north-northwest of Sagaing, near Mandalay, at a shallow depth of 10 kilometers. Due to its shallow depth, the quake generated intense shaking, impacting Myanmar and several neighboring countries, including Thailand, India, and China. In Myanmar's major cities, including Mandalay and Yangon, people fled their homes and buildings as the tremors rattled the street. In Mandalay, videos circulating online showed collapsed structures, shattered glass, and streets littered with debris. Residents reported strong and prolonged shaking, with some buildings developing visible cracks and power lines swaying dangerously.
The Ark of the Covenant, built by Moses to hold the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, at the command of God himself. In Jerusalem, it was the literal dwelling of the Most High, secreted in the darkness of the Holy of Holies for centuries. Then it disappeared. No one knows exactly where or when, but for more than 2,000 years, the whereabouts of the Ark have been shrouded in mystery, despite countless attempts to track it down. There are many theories as to the whereabouts of the holy relic. Some say it's buried under the Temple Mount. Others contend it was carried to Egypt before being lost to history. Wherever it may be, the Lost Ark of the Covenant has become one of the most sought-after Christian relics in history. On a recent trip to Africa, I met up with explorer Bob Cornhook, founder of the Bible Archaeology Search and Exploration Institute. He's been investigating a little-known theory about the Ark for over 10 years and agreed to let me tag along on another fact-finding adventure. A former crime scene investigator in Los Angeles, Bob has made a name for himself by searching for biblical relics based on the same techniques he used in law enforcement, taking the Bible as a literal guide. He's traced the route of the Jewish exodus from Egypt, searched for Noah's Ark, and probed the mystery surrounding the true location of Mount Sinai. His Ark theory goes like this. Just before the Babylonians invaded Jerusalem in 586 BC, Levitical priests moved the Ark to Egypt to save it from being destroyed. After more than a century there, it was moved again, all the way up the Nile River to Lake Tana in Ethiopia.
Which again is part of this worldwide tradition, of which I am absolutely convinced Atlantis should be understood as a part of that worldwide tradition of a global flood and the loss of a former civilization. And again, it's one of the reasons why I've done the work I've done over these years.
That one to me is so crazy that someone is keeping that information from the rest of the humans. Because if we found out the Ark of the Covenant was in fact a real object and we know where it is and it does match the description in the Bible, that kind of changes everything.
I think it was an actual object.
And you think it was some nuclear something or another?
I think it's what is rightly described as an out-of-place artifact. Because if you look at the description in the book of Exodus, the very precise dimensions of it, it's got a layer of gold, it's got a layer of wood, it's got another layer of gold. It's very precisely specified, like a blueprint in the book of Exodus, and then it does all this stuff. It shoots out jets of fire and kills 50,000 Philistines in the city of Ashdod when they open the Ark of the Covenant and look inside, and suddenly everybody in that city is dying, and what they're dying of is cancerous tumors. This is described in the Old Testament.
It's just insane that we know where it is.
The fascinating thing is that Ethiopia is the only country in the world that actually claims to have the Ark of the Covenant.
That one to me is just like, we know where it is.
Covenant commitments by God towards man is one of the unique dynamics of Judaism and Christianity. You don't have covenants in Buddhism. You don't have covenants in Hinduism because lineage and connection to the material world means nothing in those forms of religion. But in Christianity and in Judaism, the idea that God has entered into a covenant relationship becomes foundational, because covenant means that God makes promises to respond to us in a way that we would describe as being evidence of his goodness in our day-to-day life.
It was moved again, all the way up the Nile River to Lake Tana in Ethiopia.
And this is where they say that they had the Ark, and
It rested right into where those trees are. We're going to go by it here right now. And as we go by with the boat, you're going to see where they actually say the ark sat in a tent, very similar to the tabernacle in the wilderness.
The monks living on Tanakirkos Island haven't changed their worship or way of life for thousands of years. Even today, they dress in animal skins and live a primitive existence, farming the small island. They also spend more than 3 hours a day in prayer. The monks showed us relics that they say arrived with the ark.
So these implements were said to be brought with the ark from Solomon's temple. And this is the gomer that sits down. They put the blood in it, and then they would sprinkle the blood upon the ark.
According to these men, their ancestors safeguarded the ark here for 800 years. In that time, Ethiopia became a Christian nation, and after that, the king came and retrieved the ark and took it to Aksum, where we're going next. The city of Aksum, in northern Ethiopia, was once the capital of the kingdom. Ancient kings built giant obelisks to mark their graves, which rivaled the pyramids in engineering genius. Legend has it that the ark was brought here in about 400 AD and was placed in the church of Our Lady Mary of Zion. The only man allowed to see the ark is a monk called the Guardian, who's never allowed to leave the church enclosure.
It's like a bunker. It's made out of cinder blocks, and they tell me that as you go in that door, that there's a corridor that goes to the left, then a corridor makes a sharp right turn, and then another sharp right turn, coming back to where what they claim is the Ark of the Covenant, sitting in a big stone sarcophagus box with a silver ornate inlaid sleeve. So people say, why doesn't someone go in and get it? It'd be pretty hard to bring it out because they actually built the building around this object that they call the Ark of the Covenant.
We arrived in Aksum on the holiest day of the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar, the festival of Timkat. It's a day when tens of thousands of the faithful make a pilgrimage to Aksum, and a replica of the Ark is brought out of this church and paraded through the streets of the city. The people sing and dance before the procession, and the party lasts all night long. Timkat is like Easter and Christmas all wrapped into one. This is their festival of the Epiphany, their most important holiday of the year. These women will be out here all night long, worshiping, singing songs, praying. There's no doubt that this is a special place and a special time.
Philip succeeded in stealing the Ark of the Covenant from Solomon's temple. And he brought it back by another ruse. All of these stories are full of characteristically legendary tricks. But he put a replacement in Jerusalem and conveyed the actual Ark of the Covenant by air. It was taken through the air at great speed to Aksum. And the fact is that it is absolutely fundamental part of Ethiopian Christianity today. They still believe that the Ark of the Covenant is in Aksum, and Aksum is there. You can go there, they have hotels, you can stay there. You can see the building where the Ark of the Covenant is supposed to be, but you can't see the Ark of the Covenant. It won't let you in. It's between an old and a new building of Mary of Zion. This seems to be on the site of the original Cathedral of Aksum, which is where the Ark of the Covenant is supposed to have gone at the beginning. At any rate, you have a curious phenomenon that the Ark of the Covenant is still, for the faithful, resident in, and the Ark of the Covenant, as I should say, these are the tablets of the law, written by God. And they are allegedly in Aksum today.
And we're going to turn now to that newly released video. The moment gunfire rang out in the deadly mass shooting in New Mexico, Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman joins us with the latest. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Rebecca. We now know that two groups of people at an unsanctioned car meet had a dispute and opened fire. Police say they blasted 59 rounds, hitting their targets, hitting bystanders. And those videos and the 911 calls are blood-curdling. They give you a sense of the chaos of those moments as first responders try to administer aid to the victims. This morning, that chilling new video of the moment that gun battle erupted in Las Cruces, New Mexico. It's left 3 dead and more than a dozen injured. Gunfire shattering the night at this unsanctioned car show, where authorities say a dispute between multiple gunmen from opposing groups escalated into a firefight at a local park.
Oh my God! I just witnessed a murder.
Frantic 911 calls detailing the horror.
Young Park, people are shot. Young Park.
Police body camera video rolling as officers treat multiple victims, including a woman who was shot in the neck.
You'll be okay. I need you to calm down, okay? Okay, breathe.
Police recovering 59 shell casings from the scene. And authorities pointing to videos like this one where men can be seen brandishing AR-style rifles outfitted with flashlights to illuminate car stunts.
There's a lot of stuff that's happening at these car meets that is extremely dangerous and irresponsible. Guns are involved where they're just out, they're used for different purposes, and no one bats an eye.
4 suspects, all but one of them juveniles, currently behind bars on murder charges. And one of those suspects is only 15 years old.
20-year-old Tomás Rivas, 2 17-year-old boys, and a 15-year-old boy now face murder charges related to the mass shooting at Young Park, which took the lives of 3 people and left 18 others injured. Today, we know a bit more about the alleged suspects. Chief Story confirming that each one of them had a previous criminal record.
But there's a history for all 4 of them. 3 of them especially that have had multiple incidents together. Tomás Rivas has been involved in shoplifting and possession of controlled substance early on. He's been a suspect in batteries, domestic batteries, and aggravated assaults. He was charged by Texas DPS with smuggling. That case is pending. He actually had a court appearance the day of the shooting in El Paso. The juveniles have a combination of a bunch of different things, some of it together.
Officials confirmed that the shooting happened after a dispute between 2 groups of people who've had personal issues in the past. Chief Story says all 5 firearms that were used in the shooting were eventually recovered, with at least 3 reported stolen. Chief Story adding while there's no gang connection at the moment, all 4 suspects were part of the same group. Now, as for bystanders and victims, they were all at Young Park that night for a car meet. However, police say that the event was unauthorized, and events similar to that one have caused issues in the past.
Loved ones of the victims are still struggling to understand how something like this could have happened. They say the couple was married for over 20 years, and there was never any signs of domestic abuse. They even told me they didn't know a gun was in the home.
Total surprise. He adored her. Whatever Renee wanted, Chris would give it to her.
Marion Shaw is still coming to grips with the fact that she'll never see her oldest daughter, Teresa Adams Pugh, again. The family called her Ree.
Fun-loving. The life of our family party.
Marion says her daughter had 4 children and 15 grandchildren. They say Teresa was proud that her granddaughter Denia was heading to North Carolina A&T this fall.
She just wanted us to be the best we could be, like you could tell.
The Johnson County Sheriff's Office says around 6:45 Saturday afternoon, their dispatch center received a call from 10 Cheney Drive in Garner. Investigators say the caller said nothing before hanging up, which prompted 911 communications to call the number back. That's when the Sheriff's Office says a man answered the phone saying he did not call 911. The dispatch overheard a woman in the background saying, "Why do you want to kill me? I need help." When deputies arrived, they heard a gunshot inside the home. 911 communications called the number back, and the man told them he would come outside to speak with officers. But when he didn't, negotiators tried to convince him to come outside. They ultimately had to obtain a search warrant to enter the home. And that's when they found 53-year-old Chris Pugh and his wife, 54-year-old Teresa Adams Pugh, a couple who loved ones say have been married for more than 20 years. The Johnson County Sheriff's Office is investigating this tragedy as a murder-suicide. And loved ones say they saw no signs of domestic abuse.
You would never, like, my papa he never yelled at us or nothing. There's no way you would have suspected. He never yelled at us or whooped us, none of that.
He wasn't violent at all.
You can't even say you seen him mad, because I could count on my hand how many times I gave him in front of us. None of that.
Neighbors who didn't want to be identified say during the standoff, officers were asking residents to either evacuate or not come home.
I pulled up my Ring doorbell, and an officer was approaching, just telling me, please do not come home. He wouldn't tell me what was going on, but just said, just don't come home, and I will let you know when it is safe to come home.
And like loved ones of the victims, this homeowner was also in shock after learning what happened to her neighbors.
They kept to themselves, but very friendly, supportive. With my son would have a lemonade stand, and they would come support.
And now this family is left with questions as they are forced to grieve the loss of 2 lives forever.
Chris was a good man. I'm not going to say, but he just did the wrong thing.
Now, a teenager's family is suing Disney after a cast member allegedly recorded video up the girl's skirt. That employee worker in the Star Wars section of Hollywood Studios. Now, West 2's Bob Hazen reports the lawsuit says the company should have fired that cast member before the crime happened.
One of the key claims in this lawsuit is that cast member had been caught previously recording up the dress of another cast member, a co-worker, but still, he kept his job. We first reported on George Diaz-Vega in 2023 when he was arrested by Orange County deputies. Investigators say he worked at the Doc Ondar store in Galaxy's Edge, and that he admitted he'd been recording videos up the skirts of female guests for 6 years before he was caught. He allegedly had 500 such videos on his phone. One of those cases was a 14-year-old girl visiting from Michigan with her grandmother. They're the ones who are now suing the company. They say Diaz-Vega intentionally dropped a toy on the ground, and when he bent down, started shooting video up the girl's dress. The lawsuit says when the girl realized it, she, quote, began hysterically crying and screaming, and the child ran into a nearby restroom and began dry heaving, vomiting, and suffered a panic attack. It also says Disney should have done more to protect the girl from Diaz-Vega. In fact, it says he had previously been caught doing the same thing to another cast member, and it was reported to a supervisor. The suit says, quote, Disney ratified the prior misconduct of George Diaz-Vega when he was reported to have video recorded a coworker without consent, and Disney failed to take any action to discipline, terminate, or disapprove of its employees' misconduct. Diaz-Vega is facing criminal charges as well for video voyeurism. Court records show his lawyer is asking a judge to declare him incompetent for trial. Covering Orange County, Bob Hazen, West 2 News.
West 2 News did reach out to Disney for comment on the lawsuit, but we have not heard back yet.
How does something like this even happen? An 11-year-old boy whose parents only had basic birds and bees, stranger danger talks with, has his first sexual experience with a man 13 years older than him online. That same man now tied to at least 6 boys as young as 10 in at least 3 states.
This was so grotesque and so over the top and so sexual in nature that it didn't even cross my mind that this is something that we would have to deal with.
These Scottsdale parents asked us to conceal their identity. Their son was only 11 when they caught a pedophile sending him graphic videos.
We had parental controls in place. We thought we were doing everything right. We checked his phone. We checked his computer.
They even paid for extra safety apps and features.
Unfortunately, the technology is very difficult to make bulletproof.
Nothing could have prepared them for the stranger who singled out their son.
It would not have occurred to me to say, and if a man shows you a picture of his penis, this is what you should do.
Their son is on the autism spectrum with ADHD.
So playing games and being online was sort of his outlet.
Fortnite is his favorite game. That's where he met this man.
Sir, state your name and date of birth.
Jacob Lozano, December 8th, 2000.
Jacob Lozano lied about his age to groom preteen boys online.
He moved them from Fortnite to Discord, and it started happening very, very quickly.
Maricopa County Prosecutor Maggie Toth says the digital evidence is irrefutable.
What he would videotape and send to them were things that no 11-year-old child should ever have to see.
That popular platform Discord lets hundreds of millions of users share videos and live chat, clicking a simple button to bypass so-called age restrictions.
It would go from talking about sexual acts openly to what do you like to do to yourself.
This man didn't have any criminal history, right?
He did not.
But no one does until they're caught.
Exactly.
That's why what these parents did as soon as they found out made all the difference, helping detectives build a case.
Scottsdale Police Department was able to identify the boys in Arizona, a boy in California, and I believe 2 boys in Georgia. There are more unknown victims.
To identify the boys in Arizona, a boy in California, and I believe 2 boys in Georgia. There are more unknown victims.
A developing story now out of the Atlanta area. Several agencies now involved in the investigation into the death of an Atlanta rapper after police say he died while running from officers. Take a look here. This tweet from the New York Post highlighting all of that, saying, quote, rapper Young Scooter dead on his 39th birthday in a freak accident while fleeing Atlanta police. A lot going on here, so let's bring in Lindsay Tuman, joining us live at the headquarters for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation with the latest. Good morning, Lindsay. Obviously, a lot known and a lot still left to figure out here.
A lot of questions surrounding this case, and that's exactly why Atlanta police asked the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to step in and handle this investigation. They say this all started when that man was fleeing from police when they were trying to surround a home.
A large police presence filled the area around William Nye Drive in southeast Atlanta Friday night.
Officers responded to a dispute with a weapon. It was advised in the call remarks that shots were fired and a female was dragged back into the location.
When officers got on the scene, they say they knocked on the door. A man answered, then immediately shut the door on officers.
The officers then established a perimeter. During the process of establishing the perimeter, 2 males fled out of the rear of the house. 1 male returned back into the house. The other male jumped 2 fences as he was fleeing.
Investigators say when they located the man, they found him injured.
There was no indication of anyone being shot. This appears that there was, when he fell, some type of fracture injuries to the leg, which caused the bleeding.
The 39-year-old was taken to Grady Memorial Hospital, where he later died. There have been a lot of questions over what happened on social media, which is part of the reason Atlanta police called in the GBI to investigate the incident.
And this is why we're here doing this press conference, to put out there that the Atlanta Police Department has not been involved in any shootings tonight. And the incident on William Nye, there was not a shooting at all.
Well, at this time, the GBI does confirm that Atlanta police called them in to aid in this investigation, but there haven't been any other further updates.
3 former deputies. Katir Winfrey sat down with the agency's behavioral health team that says it's important to break the stigma associated with mental health to help save lives.
Law enforcement is a tough job. Every day, agencies like the Harris County Sheriff's Office get it done. Director of the Behavioral Health Division, Thomas McNee, says that internal battle isn't easily won.
The average citizen, I think, in a lifetime might be exposed to 2, I think is the statistic, critical incidents, whereas one of our officers might be exposed to that on a shift.
Deputy Christina Kohler still worked for the department in the courts division when she took her own life. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez sharing his grief on social media, sharing news of other former deputies and retirees who also took their own lives in a matter of weeks.
It's cumulative, and it takes a toll over time.
The Harris County Behavioral Health Division, McNee says, is one of the first of its kind. Karen Altamirano and John Celius work full-time as peer support deputies.
It's heavy, especially seeing people that you know are, it's hard on them.
The pair work as a team, constantly connecting with peers, providing direction and resources during tough times like this, critical incidents, or just life.
Because we recognize that we've both been at a point in our career to where we felt alone.
The losses are felt across agencies. Houston Police Officers Union President Douglas Griffith says HPD has had its share of losses just like this.
We do everything we can to minimize the threats that these officers face, but you can't always face the threat that's within.
He says from the first day at the academy on, officers' mental health takes priority, but sometimes it's not enough, as what they see daily often carries an unbearable weight.
There may have been signs that we had missed, and then that torments us.
Mental health and conversations around suicide still carry a stigma, and McNeese hopes these losses provide a spark to break that stigma.
It's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to not do something about it. You don't want to stay stuck there.
So today, friends and family said goodbye to veteran Harris County Deputy Christina Kohler. Her death last week was ruled Kohler is one of 4 current or former Harris County deputies who've taken their own lives in just the last 6 weeks. ABC 13's Jessica Willey is live tonight, and this is leading to important conversations about the need for support, Jessica.
Yeah, Eric, the department has a behavioral health division that has made great strides since it was established in 2020 and has led the way, its director says, among law enforcement agencies. But these recent deaths are raising serious concerns for the deputies' organization. The question is, what more should they be doing?
It caught a lot of us by surprise.
Harris County Sheriff's Deputy Christina Kohler left home last week and was never seen again. Houston police issuing this alert, the 37-year-old found on the 13th, she had taken her own life. 3 days later, Maria Vasquez, who left the department in December, died by apparent suicide. William Bozeman, also a former deputy, died earlier this week. Tragic news.
One is too many. 2, 3 it's definitely devastating.
That Jose Lopez is helping his friends and colleagues try to process.
It's very close to home, and it's a reminder to us of how fragile life is. It's also a reminder that we do need to look out for each other. We do need to take care of each other.
Lopez is the president of the Harris County Deputies Organization, but he knew 2 of the late deputies personally.
I knew him for over 20 years.
In just 6 weeks' time, 4 current and former deputies have taken their own lives. Psychologist Thomas McNeese is the director of the department's Behavioral Health Division.
These last few weeks have been difficult for our staff and for the sheriff's office as a whole.
He says he and his division work to provide resources to both former and current employees who are struggling. They embed to help people feel more comfortable.
This profession, unfortunately, takes a toll on people, and over time, the longer they're in it, the more of a toll that it takes, and it changes people.
First responders historically have a high rate of suicide.
It's a combination of things like what they see on the job and then what the job entails.
While the department has been focused on mental health, often leading the way, Lopez says these last few weeks have raised questions.
We can't help to ask the question of, is that enough? Do we need to do something different? What else can we do?
And as they work to support those grieving, McNeese with this message to anyone who might be in crisis.
Reaching out, getting some help, doing something to be able to not stay stuck where you're at is really important.
Good morning. Firefighters have now been here for about 5 hours. As you can see behind me, they are still pouring water on this church on Allegheny Avenue. We are at Emerald and Allegheny, and this section of Kensington is closed off to traffic. As you can see, they're continuing to pour water on this church. We've seen some of the stones from the church falling over. We know that the Philadelphia Fire Department is worried about the integrity of the building. That is why they are far away from the building attacking this fire. Firefighters responded to the East Allegheny Avenue Methodist Episcopal Church around 12:47 this morning. When they got here, flames were coming out through the roof. Video from the Citizen app shows residents in the area watching on as smoke billows into the sky and the fire lit up the night. Around 100 firefighters battled this fire. 4 nearby buildings were evacuated. The fire department said the church was built with a lot of lumber, which increased the temperature of the fire.
Guys, this is a tragedy right now, man. People in this neighborhood, this is kind of one of the spots you just walk past and you just never think something like this would happen.
Luckily, the Philadelphia Fire Department says there were no injuries. They tell us the Red Cross has been called for those who had to be evacuated. They want to make sure that all of the buildings in the area are in good structural condition before they allow residents back in. We can still hear fire alarms going off in this area as Philadelphia Fire Department fire crews continue to pour water on this historic church.
As Philadelphia Fire Department fire crews continue to pour water on this historic church.
Receive a mark 666 on their right hand and on their foreheads. Banking system. It's going to be a cashless society very soon, and that little chip will be put in your hand and in your forehead. Now, they will tell you, there are millions of people who have this chip already, by the way. Millions. Actually, billions maybe now. Yeah. You know what they'll say to you? And I don't have the time. There's the 5G coming ahead. This chip, they'll say to you, look what humanity has done and achieved. Look at the technology that we have. We have all your information on this little tiny chip, a size of a rice, maybe seed. Now it's much more smaller than that, because technology is advancing. But this little chip will have all your information, and they'll say, look, we're doing you a favor. You go to Woolies, you don't need to get your hand into your wallet and get your card out and swipe it. Just swipe your hand and just go with your head like this. Hey, what's up, bro? And whatever you need. By the way, have you noticed an app on your iPhone, if you have an iPhone, called the Health app? At the moment, limited things can be used on that app. Do you know why they have it? Because later on, when they fill you with all these chips, that app will be activated. That app will give you a warning that your heart is not functioning well. Go and see a doctor. You have high blood pressure, you have cholesterol, you have a kidney failure. It will pre-warn you. And eventually, they'll press a button and they can kill you wherever you are. Send a signal, blow your brain out. That's it, gone. Shame on every government leader. Shame on every church leader that supported this evil agenda. Shame on you all. From the highest rank to the lowest rank, and let that person be me. Then shame on me as well.